not really a lecture, and it doesn't last for 3 hours. It's kind of more of a show and tell, and there'll be some videos, and yeah, just lots of artwork basically, and I hope it will kind of make sense as we go along, but I kind of only planned it today, so it might be a bit broken in places. So, when I was living in Berlin a few years ago, I went to the Hamburg Bahnhof, and there was a piece of artwork there, which I just really liked, and it's by this Art Nouveau artist called Van Eyck, and it's called The World-Shaping Cactus. So I just thought it was really funny, and really liked it, and I kind of like this kind of Fluxus Art Nouveau kind of deadpan art movement, and I didn't really think too much about it until I saw another piece of work. Which was also really funny. And it's by a German artist called Robert Barter, called Move It, where a kind of plastic cactus hula hoops for forever, I guess. And so when I saw this, I kind of started thinking a bit more about the cactus and whether or not it might appear a bit more in contemporary art, and also kind of the idea of the cactus in culture, especially kind of growing up watching a lot of cartoons, and kind of thinking a lot about the West and the relationship between the landscape that we see in cartoons, and yeah, this was kind of the starting point. So I want to show a film that I made when I was in my third year at university. So when I was in my third year at graphic design, I started researching the idea of cactus art a bit further, and kind of contacting artists that were making work with the cactus, and kind of through doing this research attempted to make my own kind of cactus art, or at least a kind of piece about the idea of the Western landscape. So I guess I wanted to make something funny as well. And some of the ideas behind that were thinking about the cactus as a prop, and also what other props might kind of form a mise-en-scène of Wild West. So you have the tumbleweed, and you kind of have the Arizona desert, and it's kind of distilled into this miniature kind of rudimentary diorama. And there's something interesting about the idea of kind of taking the the landscape, which maybe we associate with the idea of kind of freedom and the Wild West and kind of the adventure that goes with this, and often kind of distilling it down and capturing it in some form. So that's the kind of loose introduction to why I started doing this. And so I started collecting artwork and kind of thinking a bit more about what the cactus means as a symbol. So I guess the important thing with succulent semiotics is that there are loads of types of cactus, or cacti, but I guess for the purpose of this lecture, or show and tell, I'm going to just refer to it as the cactus as a singular.
And a voice from heaven said...
Ignore that, sorry. So yeah, there's loads and loads of different types of cacti. Here are some of them. And some of them are really amazing, some of them have flowers, some of them kind of look like people. But when we kind of think of the cactus, especially in relation to art, or in terms of culture and design and cartoon and film, we're kind of only thinking about the saguaro cactus, or at least its cartoon counterpart, which is kind of a three-pronged symbol. And this symbol obviously can mean a lot to different people depending on where you are. But to the Native Americans, the symbol kind of represented the idea of the desert and of landscape. And also, it's kind of has its traditions in Western cinema, and also just in the identity of the West. So some of the things I'm going to be reading out as well aren't my own writing, I'm just kind of copying and pasting stuff that I found that kind of sums up some of the things that I was investigating. So this is about Western cinema. Long shots of the wide open countryside associate a feeling of freedom and are often used by the directors of Westerns. People are not usually present in these shots, and if they are portrayed, they are as miniature figures, in contrast to the vast areas of land. Such shots may have an ambiguous effect on the audience. They can either be associated with freedom, as I mentioned before, or on the other hand, they can stress man's insignificance in relation to nature. As Bushcombe noticed, however, the landscape can become an obstacle for the narrative development as well. This happens in the case when the Western, as a form of journey and the omnipresent surrounding countryside, must be overcome. So the last thing I want to point out in connection with the Western landscape is the iconographical importance of the cactus. Cactuses are the trees of the West, which are depicted in almost all classical Westerns. A desolate cactus with spiky thorns resembles a lonesome cowboy wandering through the desert. In Buscombe's words, it, the cactus, virtually came to signify the West. So in Western films, they would often kind of take the cactus and uproot it from wherever it might be native. There's not too many states in America where the cactus is actually a native. So they would replant them onto the film sets. So they were such an important prop that they would actually be transplanted to wherever they were making and shooting the films. So it was a really important kind of character to the idea or the identity of the West. So this is Monument Valley, which is featured in lots and lots of Western films and kind of symbolises this idea again of the kind of Wild West. Let's see if I have anything else that I can read for this part. Okay, no. So here is just kind of cartoon depiction of the West, but it also includes some of the other props that you might be thinking about when you think of the Western. So you have the wanted poster, you have the cactus, you have the rocks, and you have the kind of desolate, kind of cartoon, Looney Tune landscape. So then with art, we have the same thing going on. We have Mark Klett, who takes these photographs of saguaro, and he kind of created a photo book of all of them. And so they become kind of desert monarchs that kind of stand there and last kind of the whole of time. They kind of encapsulate history of the American landscape. And these portraits kind of capture an element of that. And so within his work, he's often documenting the American landscape. Here's a studio that often art direct photo shoots, and this kind of image is pretty self-explanatory, but it just seems like a really good introductory image for some of the ideas of the talk as well. So this is Looney Tunes, and it's like the second episode that features Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, and in this scene he runs into the old cactus mine. There's not actually any cactuses in the mine, but I really like the idea that they're kind of so valuable as a character to the cartoon that they might be mined. It kind of creates a value, the idea of mining for something becomes a resource, and also obviously just the cactus is so important to the landscape of this show. So that kind of leads on to the idea of cartoon violence, or the idea of the West being depicted not only by American artists or by American culture, but also being an influential kind of starting point for artists who maybe live outside of America, but kind of seek to identify with certain characteristics or to kind of subvert them in some manner. So this is a French artist who has used the cactus quite a lot in her work, and you can see straight away the references to some of the cartoons that we're showing. And this is a really great scene from another episode of Looney Tunes. So here again, the value is so great of the cactus that the coyote can kind of adorn himself with his cactus costume in order to blend in seamlessly with the environment. And that's his cactus costume. Here's some more work by the French artist. And the idea of kind of cartoon violence and of the cactus as a prop for humour, and also kind of the idea that the cactus can create animation without actually doing anything. I think we always think of the idea of what it feels to touch the cactus and how this could hurt, and we're kind of so used to seeing it used in cartoons as a weapon, or kind of accidental weapon.
I climbed down trail Santa Fe, with a man and other gal along the way. I said, maybe you're a dream. She said, touch me and I'll scream. So I hit my head, slowly rolled away. If you're ever down in Texas, look me up. If you're ever down in Texas, look me up. Well, then I'm in again. If you're ever down in Texas, look me up. Everybody gonna hire. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Everybody there be saying, how are you? We make more for hot tamale and for curry. If you're ever down in Texas, look me up. Anyone, but probably everybody knows the beat. They'll tell you where to write that by W-X or Y-O-T, so you all come to Texas, look me up. We got everything in Texas, look it up. Am I right? Am I good? Man, it's still done. If you're ever down in Texas.
A really great cartoon, kind of shows a lot of what we're kind of talking about today, maybe better than I'm explaining it now, but just thought it'd be interesting to show the entire of that cartoon. Itchy and Scratchy, Cat's Black Fever, from an episode of The Simpsons in 1992, again kind of uses it as a comedic prop, as a weapon. And then we start moving on to more contemporary art. So Leah Johnson is going to feature a bit more in the slideshow. And he's an American artist who deals a lot with his own identity. And the Cactus kind of appears really frequently, probably the most frequently out of all the artists that I'm going to show. And he uses it, to kind of suggest what we've been talking about with his identity, with the idea of the West, or the romanticized version of the West that he potentially himself doesn't really relate to. And he plays a lot with the idea of cowboy culture in his work as well. So here you kind of have the same joke, but kind of exaggerated even further. And then in product design, you also have designers that are making the same joke, which I just thought would be interesting to kind of show as a counterpoint. So Italian designer here with the kind of soft beanbag sofa chair. And then you have the cactus chair again, but this time with glass protecting you from the pricking your butt. Pineapple Express uses a weapon. And then you have Sackmeister and Walsh, obviously really famous graphic designers, and they used it in this piece where they created a calendar that was kind of a contraption that would kind of tell the time by all these different pieces kind of being activated and animated, and this is one component of that. But I really like it as a kind of photograph as well, and the tension that it creates. Again, I think a lot of us maybe think of the cactus and the idea of something bursting or popping. And this is by a design studio and art direction company called VLF. A few years ago when I was researching all of this, I was in contact with some of the artists, and they sent me an email kind of explaining a bit more about this. The picture was part of the project Anthropization in 2007, where we've been putting in perspective the similarities of the human interactions to sculptures and to its surrounding. For this particular work, the spineless cactus, we removed the spines from the cactus so people couldn't actually touch it. And maybe this relates as well to the Gerban out, the well-shaven cactus. So maybe inadvertently these artists and designers are making the same gags, which maybe makes them funnier. And this is a Korean artist who creates these paintings. They're huge, kind of bigger than people, and he looks at enlarging them to kind of create meaning. A kind of graphic fine artist, using it in more graphic way. And then this is an American artist who creates these kind of ready-made sculptures and leaves them for people to discover. And this is Leah Johnson again, using the cactus. And another American artist kind of exploring his own identity. And this was a show at Paradise Row. I think I have a little bit about this one. So his large-scale satirical commentaries on contemporary America kind of boldly critique the plasticity of pop and the contemporary political landscape. And this is one of the pieces from the show, Six-String Succulent. So I've tried to kind of loosely categorize the artworks, but there's lots of overlap. And so one of the recurring features of using the cactus in art or design or in culture is that it kind of takes on a human form, and people give it personality, sometimes their own, or sometimes a kind of inventive one. So Klaus Weber here kind of plays God or Frankenstein and puts cactus together to create double cactus, putting it on the mirror to kind of create an infinite one. You have German romanticist painter here having a bit of fun with the cactus enthusiast. So this kind of, the cactus enthusiast here kind of leans forward dressed in green, and the cactus kind of looks back at him. And then you have Rodney Graham, a contemporary photographer and artist, who recreates this scene in a kind of reference to art history, but here he's kind of playing the lab assistant, and he's been given a present from one of his employees. And this is from a filmmaker, Jordan Baseman, in which he kind of documents this kind of unusual man. So it begins with a voice listing 4 things that come not back: the spoken word, the sped arrow, past life and neglected opportunities, We then meet Gordon Rowley, former president of the British Succulent Society, an old man with a mouth like a knacker's yard, a greenhouse full of cacti, and an armoury of crazy, Milligan-esque gags and antiquated philosophies. So again, it's kind of the eccentric, and perhaps the cactus is a really good plant for kind of representing eccentricity. David Shrigley uses it here as a pot, a plant pot, called The Philosopher. And Martin Creed, using objects in his work for humour and organising and arranging objects, uses the cactus, and they kind of stand almost like people. Like when you line up at school, kind of to show who's the tallest. So then John Cage kind of gives personality here to the cactus by literally playing it as an instrument.
It's been said that listening to John Cage's music is like chewing sand. Well, I'll leave that up to you and your teeth to decide. Meanwhile, we've been seeing and hearing simultaneously a performance by the German artist Joseph Beuys and two pianists from Turkey. Mr. Beuys is the provocative leader of conceptual and performance art movements. He's also a fellow who occasionally performs with horses on stage and whose favorite sculpture materials are animal fat and felt, none of which he is using at this moment. Although Mr. Cage here has improvised with many unusual instruments, I don't believe he has ever improvised with my specialty, violin, created at this very instant by Pierre-Alain Hubert from just outside the Pompidou Center in Paris. And so from Paris, fire away.
This is from a Wikipedia entry called Amplified Cactus. An amplified cactus is a cactus plant used as a musical instrument. It harnesses the acoustic properties of a cactus by applying contact microphones and amplifying their projection and tone. Vivian Schweitzer of the New York Times reports Jason Truting played an amplified cactus, running his hand over the plant's unfriendly spikes to produce an alluring sound like a babbling brook. The amplified cactus is a medium rarely written for, even in the contemporary music genre. John Cage composed Child of a Tree, 1975, and Branches, 1976, for what he described as amplified plant materials. Cage was a large proponent of chance music and felt that the organic nature of music without man-made instruments was very strong and influential. Another of the most famous pieces for amplified cactus is called Degrees of Separation, Grandchild of Tree, by Paul Rudy, which received mention in the Borges International Competition for Electroacoustic Music in 2000. Rudy mentions, in his own program notes, the idea for a cactus and tape work came about when I heard a performer of John Cage's Child of Tree. I was immediately taken with the sound of the cactus in particular, taken from the natural environment and placed in the confined and groomed existence of a pot, amplified with a contact microphone. The cactus took on a completely new and interesting character. So we're back to Leah Johnson, and this is called the normalizer, which he kind of made twice, in which cacti sit on bleachers and watch Once Upon a Time in the West. This is also Leah Johnson going on a date with a cactus in 2010. So I was in communication with Leah for a long time when I was studying, because obviously his name kind of kept coming up when I was researching this. And so I sent him a few questions, asking him a bit more about his practice, and he sent me back a video.
First question is, what exactly does the cactus mean to you in your practice? Well, I thought the cactus was a really good material, sort of as a sculpture, sort of as a found object. In terms of my practice, the first time I used the cactus was I had a show, and everything was on the wall, and the floor looked really good. So I felt like I needed more sculptures for the show. So I got a chair and put a hole in it, and put a cactus through it, and that was the piece, and it was the best piece of the work. And now that's sort of how I work. The second question is, there seems to be a focus in your work on the idea of the Western, on nostalgia and its broader realm of cowboy culture. What role does what role does the cactus play in this? Well, the cactus seems particularly Western. It's sort of an American thing. And so I was drawn to using it back in grad school when people thought that Arkansas was out west. And I thought that was kind of absurd, but I started to play with that sort of identity. And that's when I began working with cacti. Really, Arkansas is kind of a blind spot in the nation. We don't really have a really true identity. So it's kind of nice to be able to do what you want. The third question is, did you know of any other artists using cacti within their practice? Yeah, the first artist I really saw that did that after I started working with cacti is Margaret Rivera. I saw her working at LA. She makes these cacti out of old uniforms from the Mexican Border Patrol. There's also Martin Freed, who's done some work lining up cacti. And also Bruce Nauman, he doesn't really work particularly with cacti, but he's a very Western artist, so I usually do appreciate it. The fourth question is, do you own any cacti outside of my sculptures? No, I don't. The last time I owned a cacti was in college. I broke up with this girl, and I wanted something to take care of, so I bought a cacti. The cacti don't really need anything from me. If you water them too much, they usually die. The fifth question is, have you ever taken any peyote? No, I haven't. But a popular American cliche is to take drugs out west, especially out in the Southwest. And a friend of mine who's a painter and I plans to do that one day. The sixth question is, in Cactus state, what did the Cactus order? Cactus ordered the vegetarian special, which was sort of a vegetarian shepherd's pie with a side salad. And it also had a beer, but I drank that. 7, what is your favorite Western? I guess the outlaw Josie Wells, but I don't really watch Westerns, so that opinion's not really worth much. Unless I watch samurai films. My favorite samurai film would probably be The Sword of Doom.
So when Leah was making that, he kind of wrote to me and said that he wanted to distance himself as far as possible from the Western landscape, so he kind of logically thought that was an ice rink. And he was also thinking a lot about slideshows and the form of sliding, which is ice skating. On peyote, the plant symbolism and guide to the spiritual meaning of plants says that the cactus means protection, chastity. With its ability to store water, it symbolizes hidden treasures, as well as endurance and the ability to adapt to situations and environments. So now it kind of goes into the idea that people are capturing cactuses and repopulating their offices with them. In this piece by Kitty Clark, she was working on the exhibition at Milner when they were doing their weekends exhibition in their flat in Peckham. And I kind of found this one again today and thought I'd put it in as a kind of primer to the idea of the cactus in the domestic environment, because this was an exhibition at home, but also it kind of plays with the idea of the fake cactus or the idea of the kind of imagined cactus. I have a quote from her, which is why she made it blue. And so for her, she said, "Blue is a device I use for the artificial. It is screaming how fake it is." This is from a chat forum about cactus inside an office. And it says, "I was thinking of buying a cactus for my cubicle at the office that I'm working. I'm wondering if it's a good idea to do so. I chose this because I'm thinking it doesn't need to be watered every day. Can you share any tips on taking care of a small cactus plant in an office? Thanks." And then the reply, "Cactus succulents are prone to rot, so ensure fast drainage. Don't let the water sit in the saucer. The spines supposedly capture negative energy from computer screens, according to the beliefs of feng shui. Others believe it expresses a good business-like approach when on a table next to where one sits. I prefer the spineless succulent, aloe vera, it being my favourite." Smiley face. I have a quote here from our website about the cactus in the office. "I consider it the highest compliment when my employees go out and start their own companies in competition with me. I always send them a plant to wish them well, and of course it's a cactus. Norm Brodsky, the business guru for Incorporated magazine, has failed to realize that a cactus is a symbol of triumph over adversity. These plants, by their very prickly nature, exemplify the ability to adapt and change, just as business must flex with the ebb and flow of markets. In fact, the cactus should become the botanical mascot of the American business, because it reflects the daily changes of a free enterprise system. A living cactus on every desk is a great way to acknowledge the duality of our work. On the one hand, we are forced to arm ourselves for competition and negotiation. On the other, we have the opportunity to use our company to better the world. Ferocious yet elegant, rugged but exquisite. This universal balance is as important in the workday world as it is in the evolution of a cactus." A brief note on feng shui from a website about feng shui. A couple of years ago, I knew a married couple who were great cactus lovers. When I went for a brief visit on some business matters, I noticed that they had cactus plants all over their living room. They were of different size and type, and I couldn't help noticing how good they actually looked. The placement of the cactus plants was subtle and in harmony with the overall look of the room. But the problem was, the guy was complaining of being nervous, itchy, and irritable, and all that without any obvious reason. To make things worse, I noticed that his wife was also on the edge. Knowing about the basic feng shui principles, it was clear why their living room had become a place of conflict instead of a place of cooperation and harmony. It was because of the cactus plants. And the last kind of section, which hopefully will go full circle, is native soil. So it comes back to the idea of the identity. In the first section, it was kind of all about the idea of the West, and perhaps how some people can still identify with that kind of culture or identity, maybe even not even being from there. But to a certain degree, those identities are constructed. They're kind of myths, and they're kind of foretold to us through Western cinema, and through maybe some of the culture that we've absorbed as a kind of export from those countries. So I want to think a bit more about identity and the cactus, and some artists who deal with it in a different way. So this is a British artist, Simon Starling, who deals with the idea of kind of transplanting and reforming and remaking and recycling. And this is a piece called Cactus House, where he kind of captured a cactus from Spain, and here it is kind of ready to go, like a prisoner. And he brings it to a gallery in Frankfurt, and he drives it there, and he uses the car engine to power the, to keep the humidity right in the room so that the cactus can thrive. In this piece, got some things written about it. The exhibition CAM conflates various nocturnal tales of exchange, survival and opportunism. The title CAM refers to the process, Crasslucian acid metabolization, whereby the cacti and other succulent plants reduce water loss by taking on CO2 at night and thus survive in the harshest of arid climates. Although this process was first given its name in 1813 by the missionary Benjamin Haynes, it had first been observed in 1804 by the Swiss scientist Nicolas Theodore de Saussure. Nicolas experimented regularly with opportunia cacti and observed that, unlike most plants, they respire at night. He published his findings in a publication I can't pronounce the name of. The form of the exhibition is also inspired by a tale of Swiss ingenuity already investigated in photographic work. By nighttime, the Swiss buy cheap radiators from their neighbours, which they use to pump water into holding reservoirs. By day, they use the stored water to generate hydroelectric power, which they then sell back to their neighbours at peak rate prices. The verbosely titled work that involved the rephotographing of a set of images made by the American artist Christopher Williams of the Grand Descent Dam proposed a relationship between the storage of artworks and the use of Swiss mountains and lakes as a kind of vast battery, capitalizing on daily fluctuations in electricity prices to generate revenue from nearly nothing. In this piece, he cycles from Spain and he uses a bike that the only waste product that it produces is water. And he cycles all the way to the gallery and he uses that byproduct to paint this portrait of a cactus. And now it's kind of the idea of the cactus as a more romantic version to kind of represent identity and people. Again, it's the idea that the cactus is person. And here it represents the female form by Diego Rivera. He's interesting because he was obviously married for a short period of time to Frida Kahlo, who also used the cactus in a really romantic and suggestive way. Here she's holding Diego. In this piece, the New York Botanical Garden recreated the cactus collection and sculptures that were in the garden where Diego and Frida Kahlo lived in Mexico. And this is where Frida would spend some of her last years kind of with the cacti. And they had a grandson who also seems to paint cacti a lot. Just kind of a family tree. And now it's kind of more the idea of the cactus as a political tool. So Ai Weiwei uses it to represent his own struggle here and chose a really specific cactus, and here next to it is a crab. And this kind of represents his internal struggle and his struggle with the Chinese authorities. And then the last section is about the Israel-Palestine conflict, and they both use the cactus as their national plant. And this is from an article written online about some of these artworks. I've chosen a few works to examine divergence. To simplify the process, I ended up focusing on a single visual motif that epitomizes the conflicting narratives behind Israel-Palestine. The cactus plant, aka prickly pear, aka sabra, the symbol of both national entities, is one of tenacity, stubbornness, nativity, survival, or samud, the Palestinian sense of rootedness, while also signifying uprootedness, migration, ruin. It is a highly constructed image that I imagine will continue to attract the attention of artists for years to come, like the olive tree of the separation wall. So here's an Israeli artist using the cactus. She's based in New York, but she uses the cactus to represent the struggle. And then this is the Palestinian artist using it in the same way. So Rana uses cactus as a visual language. Cactus is like a language for me, and I seldom use it as a subject for drawing, but as a thing itself in 3 dimensions. In Haifa, she found a fragment of an old home, a wall still standing after Israeli destruction. Rana hung it with cactus leaves, and between them, she hung fragments of Arabic tiles often found on the site of destroyed homes. She called the work Scream of the Valley. She explained that Nisnas is the animal like a cat that is long in shape, and Wadi means valley. The Nisnas is extinct in the valley now, thus the use of the phrase in this context is intended to describe how Arabs feel in Israel, deeply threatened. As time went by, the cactus leaves sprouted, and the meaning of that is not lost on either of us. And so the last thing is a quote from Rana, and it's about this work, which is Sweetie, where it's half dipped in chocolate. So she says, I'm using the cactus. It is a description in symbolic form of our experience. Think of all that is beautiful in Palestine, and you cannot enjoy it because of the continuing occupation and severe oppression applied by Israel. In discussion, she said that it combines something harmful and something sweet, as she cited in an old Arabic saying, you sprinkle sugar on death. And the last image is by an Israeli artist. And that's the end of the talk.